for the introduction. My presentation today will cover the GDUFA 2 PreANDA program for complex generic products. I will cover an overview of several components as they relate to the program. I will cover research, product-specific guidances, controlled correspondences, and the bulk of my presentation today will cover meetings for complex products. Research. Research is an important component of our PreANDA program. FDA conducts internal and external research to support submission assessment and PreANDA commitments. FDA holds annual workshops to solicit input from industry and other stakeholders for inclusion in an annual list of GDUFA regulatory science initiatives. You can propose initiatives via email to genericdrugs@fda.hhs.gov. On June 23, 2021, FDA will hold the Generic Drug Science and Research Initiatives Workshop. A link is provided with information. FDA will post a list of research priorities on FDA's website. FDA also participates in industry GDUFA 2 regulatory science working groups. FDA will report annually on research and outcomes. These reports are prepared on the extent to which GDUFA science and research funded projects support items such as the development of generic drug products, and examples of that would include development of a new analytical method for improved product characterization or development of an in vitro in vivo correlation that informs formulation optimization. Evidence needed to support efficient assessment and timely approval of ANDAs. And examples may include development of an analytical method that demonstrates API sameness or development of a new bioequivalence study design. And finally, the evaluation of generic drug equivalence. Examples include alternative methods to demonstrate equivalence. There are several research links provided for reference. Another component of the PreANDA program is the development of product-specific guidance. Product-specific guidances provide the agency's current thinking and expectations on how to develop generic drug products therapeutically equivalent to specific reference-listed drugs. Approximately 1,900 PSGs are currently available as of April 2021. A link to the PSG website is included as reference. Upcoming new and revised PSGs for complex generic drug products development can be found at the link provided. The list provides information on PSGs for complex products that FDA plans to issue or revise in the coming year. For PSGs that will be revised, the list shares a brief description of the revision and the reason for the planned revision. Plan to attend the SBIA PSG webinar on May 5, 2021. FDA will provide an overview of PSGs, including how they are developed and revised, and their role in facilitating generic drug development and generic drug application review. FDA will also discuss ways prospective and current generic applications can use PSGs, including those for complex products, to improve efficiency of generic drug development. A link is provided for information on the webinar. FDA issues new and revised PSGs on a quarterly basis. The published PSGs are announced in the Federal Register and made available to the public on FDA's website. PSGs help drive the PreANDA process. A prospective applicant can submit a controlled correspondence to address specific PSG questions, such as alternatives to the guidance or questions within the same study type. Questions can also be submitted for PreANDA meetings for complex products with no PSGs, complex products and proposing an alternative to the guidance, or different study types. Keep in mind there are other types of controlled correspondence that may be submitted. Not all are related to PSGs. For example, an applicant may submit quality-related questions for stability. Another component of the PreANDA program are controlled correspondences. There are two types of controls. Standard controlled correspondence, which have a 60-day review clock, and examples can be requesting information on specific elements of generic drug development or post-approval submission requirements not covered by guidance on post-approval changes and not specific to ANDAs. The second type are complex controlled correspondence, which have a 120 calendar day review clock. Examples are evaluation of clinical content, bioequivalence protocols for reference listed drugs, with risk evaluation and mitigation strategies, with elements to assure safe use. Another is alternate VE approaches within the same study type, such as pharmacokinetic, in vitro, and clinical. I would like to note that OGD does not, in general, pre-review protocols. However, you may ask specific questions regarding your proposed study for feedback, and FDA may respond. A link to the control correspondence guidance posted in the December 2020 is provided for you as reference. Clarification of ambiguities. In some cases, an applicant may request a clarification of an FDA response. These requests are evaluated and responded to if, in FDA's judgment, the request merits further clarification. These requests should be submitted within 7 calendar days of issuance of FDA's response. A request after this time is considered a new controlled correspondence. The scope of clarifying questions should be limited to the content of FDA's controlled correspondence response. Any request to review new or additional information will be considered a new controlled correspondence and should be submitted as such through the portal. Which reaches us to our first challenge question. Bioequivalence protocols for reference-listed drugs with risk evaluation and mitigation strategies with elements to assure safe use is an example of which type of controlled correspondence? The answer is complex controlled correspondences. This slide provides complex product categories and examples. I'm not going to read all of these examples. However, I want to focus on the other products category. An example of other products could be a solid oral opioid with FDA-approved labeling that shows properties to meaningfully deter drug abuse. Other products can be further utilized where complexity or uncertainty concerning the approval pathway or possible alternative approach may benefit from early scientific engagement. Another component of our PreANDA program are PreANDA meetings for complex drug products. The program goals are to clarify regulatory expectations for prospective applicants early in product development, to assist applicants to develop more complete submissions, to promote a more efficient and effective ANDA assessment process, and to reduce the number of review cycles required to obtain ANDA approval, particularly for complex products. To engage in substantive discussion, FDA expects that the prospective applicants have enough knowledge of complex products to allow FDA to provide appropriate feedback that will advance product development early in the process, such that a prospective applicant has generated its own data to be discussed. A link to the map for evaluating requests for the conducting product development and pre-submission PreANDA meetings is provided. There are two types of GDUFA PreANDA meeting submissions: product development meetings and pre-submission meetings. Product development meetings are held for scientific exchange of scientific issues and questions, such as alternative approach or additional study expectations. These meetings are held to provide targeted advice regarding your ongoing ANDA development program. Pre-submission meetings are held to discuss and explain content and format of your ANDA to be submitted. Also, FDA can provide advice to enable efficient review to improve first cycle approval. A product submission meeting should not include substantial review of summary data or full study reports. This meeting is submitted approximately 6 months prior to your ANDA submission. A prospective applicant may submit more than one PreANDA meeting request. However, FDA recommends no more than one for a specific complex product per year. You can also submit a request for a product submission meeting even if you did not have a prior product development meeting. However, FDA may grant the meeting if, in FDA's judgment, the P-sub meeting will improve review efficiency. After submission of your ANDA, you may hold a mid-review cycle meeting. These meetings are held during first review cycle with prior PDEV or P-sub meetings, generally midpoint of review plus 30 days. You're provided updates on status of review and next steps. And keep in mind, applicants should not submit these meeting requests for the MRCM. A regulatory project manager will contact the applicant to schedule the meetings. Also, having a PDEV or P-sub meeting, whether it's face-to-face, TCON, or written response, will qualify you for a MRCM meeting. A link to the guidance formal meetings between FDA and ANDA applicants of complex products under GDUFA guidance is provided for your reference. When should a prospective applicant submit a controlled correspondence versus a PreANDA meeting request? Examples of when to submit a controlled correspondence are when you are asking a single or small group of closely related questions. A response will be provided within 60 days, calendar days for a standard and 120 for a complex. And following a PDEV meeting, applicants seeking further clarification or if you have new questions related to what was discussed during the meeting. Example of submitting a PreANDA meeting would be for multidisciplinary questions. These questions or new information, data, or questions that cannot be adequately addressed in a controlled correspondence. FDA may grant for a non-complex product. However, do not submit the same questions you were using in a controlled correspondence and a PreANDA meeting at the same time. If you submit a controlled correspondence or a meeting request, FDA may determine that the other pathway is more appropriate and respond with that recommendation via a controlled correspondence response or a PreANDA denial letter. FDA will grant a product development or P-sub meeting for a complex product if no PSG is available, you're proposing an alternative VE approach to the PSG, your meeting package is complete, questions could not be adequately addressed through a controlled correspondence, and the meeting would significantly improve ANDA review efficiency. Depending on available resources, FDA may grant, if in FDA's judgment, concerns complex product development issues, the meeting package is complete, questions again could not be adequately addressed through a controlled correspondence, may grant a meeting for non-complex products, and a meeting would significantly improve ANDA review. This slide shows an outline of the PreANDA meeting process. I'm not going to go over each individual step. However, I will highlight the various stages. Stage 1, FDA receives your meeting request, triages for completeness, and will either grant or deny your meeting. This is done together with OGD and the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. If your meeting is denied, a denial letter is issued with language to help with any future submissions, and your meeting is closed. The other option is your meeting is granted. Stage 1 takes 14 calendar days from receipt of your meeting request. If granted, your meeting moves to stage 2. In this stage, disciplines are assigned and assessments conducted. You may receive an information request as needed. Preliminary responses to your questions are issued, and FDA will either hold a face-to-face, teleconference, or issue written responses. This stage takes 120 calendar days from the date your meeting is granted. The third stage is where meeting minutes are prepared and issued. This stage takes 30 calendar days from the date your meeting was held. To submit your meeting request, obtain a pre-assigned ANDA number and submit your request and meeting package through the CDER Direct NextGen collaboration portal. And here is a picture of what the portal will look like when you put in your submission. Now you're submitting your PreANDA meeting request. For a product development meeting, provide specific proposals and questions supported by appropriate data and scientific justification. For a pre-submission meeting, provide an outline of your unique, novel, or complex aspects of your upcoming submission. If you have specific questions, provide appropriate background material and data related to those questions. Tips for your meeting package format and content. FDA recommends that you refer to the final guidance for industry posted in November 2020. A link to formal meetings between FDA and A&D applicants of complex products under GDUFA guidance for industry is also provided. Ensure questions have corresponding justification, rationale, or data to support discussion. Questions should be grouped by discipline, and questions should be clearly numbered. Evaluation of your meeting request. A parallel assessment of your meeting request is conducted by the Office of Generic Drugs and the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. A meeting request assessment team reviews your meeting package. Both OGD and OPQ coordinate the assessment to provide a unified FDA response. Meeting has been granted. Once your meeting is granted, FDA will grant as either a face-to-face, teleconference, or written response. During the pandemic, face-to-face meetings requests are being converted to teleconferences. You will be notified 4 to 6 weeks prior to your meeting date. A written response or teleconference meeting still qualifies you for a mid-review cycle meeting. You are assigned a project manager from ORS or OPQ as a point of contact for your meeting. I would like to note that on occasion, when a prospective applicant suggests a written response meeting, FDA may grant the meeting request. For example, we may convert to a teleconference if OGD has determined this meeting format is warranted based on questions submitted in your meeting package. The meeting package assessment. Once your meeting is granted, FDA reviews your meeting package and may request consults from other disciplines or issue you an information request letter. An IR letter is issued through the portal. An IR can be issued at any point in the assessment of your meeting package. However, FDA strives to issue the request as early as possible. FDA also will issue preliminary responses to your questions submitted in your meeting package based on the agency's current thinking. Preliminary responses are issued approximately 5 calendar days before your scheduled meeting date. To hold a productive meeting, you may submit presentation materials, however, it's not required, submit a revised agenda, and the FDA asks that these be submitted through the portal at least 48 hours prior to your scheduled meeting. You should not generate any new submission of questions. You can also cancel your meeting if you feel preliminary responses have addressed your questions. You are still eligible for an MRCM meeting if you cancel your meeting. Keep in mind, the length of your meeting is not increased to accommodate large presentations. Meeting day has arrived. Meetings are typically 1 hour. Discussion should focus on clarification of responses in the preliminary response letter. During the meeting, participants discuss data, questions, and responses. Keep in mind, FDA will not address or discuss any new data or questions not submitted in your original meeting package. Per the guidance on formal meetings with industry, before the end of the meeting, FDA attendees and the prospective applicant may summarize important discussion points, agreements, and clarifications. The summary can be done at the end of the meeting or after the discussion of each question. Post-meeting. A prospective applicant can submit their meeting summary to the FDA within 7 calendar days of the meeting via the portal. FDA will issue the official meeting minutes within 30 calendar days of the meeting. If you need to discuss additional issues that were not addressed during the meeting, submit a control correspondence or a new meeting request. If submitting a new meeting request, FDA expects to submit new data or information not submitted in your original meeting package. Keep in mind, there is not a mechanism to accept new or clarifying questions after the meeting or once meeting minutes are issued. Canceling your meeting. If a meeting is canceled, a subsequent request to schedule a meeting is considered a new request. A product development or pre-submission meeting may be canceled. Applicant decides to withdraw the meeting request. If the applicant determines questions were adequately addressed or answered by the preliminary written comments, or FDA issues PSG on establishing BE to the RLD that is the basis of submission for the prospective ANDA applicant. Resolution of dispute about meeting minutes. There may be cases where there is a dispute regarding meeting minutes issued by the FDA. Applicants may request additional clarifying information about meeting minutes by contacting their FDA point of contact. Your request should be submitted in writing to FDA within 10 calendar days of receipt of FDA's official meeting minutes. Important to note, disputes should address issues with information provided in the meeting minutes only. Another challenge question: which type of PreANDA meeting request does not include substantive review of summary data or full study reports? And the answer is pre-submission meeting request. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.